Oh, I screwed all that up. Hey, welcome everybody. And it's Wednesday night. I screwed that up so bad. I went live and then started it. And you normally start it and then go live, right? But I screwed it all up. I was busy eating my snacks, trying to cram some food in right before we go live. So no big deal.
This is low budget. No one cares.
Yes, you know? This is so low budget. Matter of fact, it actually charges me money just to put this on. So, all right. So, yeah, Miss Cat G is here this evening. Buff Del Campo, One-Eyed Cat, Slant Day of the Garage. What up, suckers? Saying, damn, you guys are here early. So, Buick 350 V8 Power sick today. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry, Roger. But just crazy enough to be here. So hurry the F up and get the show on the road. Well, hey, man, you got live right at the very beginning. We didn't even run the intro. And so, okay, let's see. Paul Pihui is here, and 38 Racing is here. Mama M3, Buick Smith is here. Bobby Frizzell is in the house. Bruce Coltgen is here. Junkyard D, Michael Schmidt, and let's see. I think that's it. I think I caught up with everyone now. And I guess Colleen was saying that the start was perfect. It was so amateur hour. All right, but and it was probably good though, because we literally started just like that. So One-Eyed Cat says Professor P wore your shirt to work today.
Yeah, I got it right here, so check it out. So this is what's on the front, you know, the car and whatnot. But I got to tell you, on the back, it is the best. There it is.
Yeah.
Now
I don't know what that has to do with your race car, but I guess you can make it figure out. You know,
it
has something to do
with the car.
All right. Well. And so Professor P and I were talking. I'll show everybody this thing here. So I'm gonna have a new video coming out here soon, but I've been working on this like all week, trying to get this done. And so let's see.
So now, if you want your own T-shirt, go to Gunslinger Graphics. Go to Slant Daily and check it out. But yeah, we're gonna be running them for a little while. So if one of the mods, I think we only have one mod, right? Don't we just have just one?
I had originally two. One was John Wilbur, and the other one was Blake from Bad Tree Productions. But Blake doesn't pop in here hardly ever.
We should probably get another mod. But yeah, so yeah,
I should probably have Lars do it, because Lars is like, in my opinion, one of the best mods in our group. He doesn't mess around, and he puts links up and all kinds of stuff. And he's generally here like the first person in these shows. But
so, if you go to Gunslinger Graphics, then go to Slant Daily and you can get yourself an awesome shirt. So there you go. Now I'm sorry, don't mean to step on you, but here you go.
No, it's all right. So I was working on this all week trying to get this somewhat right. Man, I ended up having 27 shots to get this right, because you got to remember, I'm doing videos by myself, right? Like literally by me. So I have to set all this up, put the timer on, go up there, take a stance, and then if I got it right, I got it right. If I don't, well, guess what? I take a picture of crap. And so it took me 27 shots just to get somewhat close. And I mean, Professor P knew about this about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And I've been pretty much just like snickering since every time I look at the original Smokey Unique picture, right? Where I have that here somewhere.
When he told me he was going to paint the headers white and everything, I was like, oh, that's going to be beautiful, dude. It's going to be, he goes, and then he was so excited. He goes, my jumpsuit just showed up. And I was like, yes.
But I'll show you the original picture. Let me unshare this. Let's see. And okay, we'll close this one out. Preview. And then this one. Okay. And present. Share screen. Okay. That's the original one, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted it to look somewhat relatively close. This is literally the second small block Chevy I've ever done in my life, right? So I wanted it to have some flash and flare. I mean, you're building a small block Chevy and no one really cares. I mean, it's like literally every car magazine had a story about a small block Chevrolet in every magazine up until the magazines ended. But what's cool is like, you know, I don't know. I'm just having fun with this because I've never had anything. A Buick. Nobody has any cool historical pictures of them working on a Buick. Maybe TV Tommy. That's about it. So I just thought I've been having some fun with it. But so that's the new video. It's going to be up here in the next couple of days. I still got to fire it. I'm waiting on parts from Amazon. That's what we were talking about at the beginning. What's weird is I ordered something for it, like I think for my start stand on Saturday. I get a notification, hey, it's going to be here to I bought it because it said on Amazon I'll be here the next day, like the next morning. I'm like, wow, that's so fast. And then the next morning came and went. Maybe it was Sunday. Must have been Sunday. Because then the next morning came and went, which was Monday. Today was Tuesday, right? No, today's Wednesday. Dang.
Today's Wednesday.
I'm tracking my week. But yeah. So Sunday came, or Monday came and went. Tuesday came and went. And every day it changes, saying it'll be here by 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And here it is, Wednesday. It's supposed to be here by 10 p.m. tonight. And I don't think it's going to make it. But yeah. Okay, Buick Smith is saying, oh, you know what? I missed this one up here. Man, what is going on with me today? Michael Schmidt says, Slant Daily, I want a shirt from Shane with the creamy beaver. It got banned on day one.
Yeah, not the car creamy beaver, but the original creamy beaver.
What's that, the black shirt?
Yes.
It got banned by who?
Probably HR. They banned mine too.
Oh, I wear mine out in town, so I don't even care.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't care.
Yeah. Buick Smith says mid-2000s Ford truck auto trans tires turn forward in reverse and neutral. Has all forward gears, no reverse. Any ideas what's wrong besides it needs a rebuild?
The band. If it goes forward in reverse, then the band is not applying.
Well, okay, so the Ford, let's see, mid-2000s would be what about?
That's an AOD, say probably
2000. Well, I'm thinking it's AODE, which would be what, R470W. I think that's what they were. It is just like an AOD. It is exactly like an AOD, and it is a band apply.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And so that since it's an E, it's just basically a solenoid driven band at that point. Well, it just tells when to turn on and off. But I bet you that band is trash.
Oh, I bet it is too. It sounds like it. I had a AOD smoke reverse after it blew the cooler line off and puked all the fluid out. Smoke reverse. And I didn't have reverse for like 2 years. I just kept driving it forward. Wherever I wanted, I parked it in spots that had no parking blocks and stuff like that.
Now, I don't remember maybe it is Sonex that carries that, but they have a better band. It's like a semi-rigid or a rigid band for that. And it's got more welds on there so that way it doesn't break. But usually those things break. That band breaks a lot.
But he's saying the tires turn forward in reverse and neutral. And I'm kind of wondering if, oh, you're right. If the band doesn't work, it won't stop the drum.
That's right.
Right. Exactly. So it can't change to a different direction.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Mama M3 says Damien originally painted his headers white. We told everyone it was NASA heat styrofoam. The white headers look freaking awesome, don't they? I mean, if you looked at Smokey's picture, I don't know what picture I had up there. But, Smokey's picture was black headers, and I did mine that were white. What you hearing?
Oh, nothing. I was hearing something, but it's actually thunder. So that's what I'm hearing. I was like, man.
Oh, dude, you guys got some serious weather over that way. There was tornadoes on the ground in Mississippi.
Yeah. It's just south of us, but we're getting just a spin off of it. So it's like a low rumble. But I kept hearing something. I'm like, man, what am I hearing? So
let's see. Okay, Squares and Gears says, "What's up, guys? Checking in from the steam plant making megawatts. Thanks for keeping our lights on, brother." Yeah. All right. Big Block 402 says 4R70W is a broken reverse band if you don't have reverse.
100%. I agree with that.
And then he says he fixed his with that band from Sonics that you're talking about.
Yep. Very common.
Buick 350 V8 power. Why no closed caption? I've spent a lifetime with loud engines and loud music. Closed caption would be nice. I don't even know how to turn it on. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's probably during a setup that you have to do that. But I don't know. And maybe I'll try it for next week's show, but I can't go in there and edit it now.
Sorry, man. Like I said, we're still low budget, like really low budget.
Real low budget. Like I said, I got to pay just to put this on for you guys every week. Okay. Oh, there you go. 38 Racing says closed caption is not available on a live stream. Okay, that would make more sense.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Okay. All right. Michael Schmidt says, is the 4R70W do the same as the Lincoln LS trains? The Lincoln LS, I think that one was the weird, it's like a Jaguar engine, I think. I'm not entirely sure the transmission is not a Ford piece, but I know that the engine is like a 4-liter Jaguar.
Yeah, that was right around the time when Jaguar and Ford were like interchanging parts.
Yeah, best buds.
Yeah.
Big Block 402 says I'm doing white headers on my small block for candy cane. Nice. I think they look amazing. I think I might do white headers on when I eventually make some headers for the super stock Buick. I'm going to paint them white. Oh, dude, and I got to do a video walk around of these headers. Okay, first off, the headers in that picture are not like nice pieces like everyone's thinking. They were $25 off a marketplace, and they came off a stock car. And I mean, like, when I say stock car, I meant probably the losing one that got crashed every week stock car, because they are hammered dog shit. I mean, it literally has cracks all over the things. I've never seen headers crack before. Wow. And it's got one whole tube that looks like, I don't know, like an ostrich took a shit on the tube, and that's what's holding it together. I mean, it freaking is terrible, man. It's such a terrible weld. But I'm like, all right, cool. $25 is $25. They're bad. Okay. Bobby Frizzell says I ran white headers in the for a while in the Galaxy. The new ones are black. Yeah. The black makes them actually look so much better, but the white,
it's
they
so
look
nostalgic.
Oh, they're so nostalgic looking. Yeah.
I've done them black and white on the Cookie Monster. Right now they're VHT black, and that seems to work the best.
So Buff says it best here. Back in the 70s, I think everyone painted headers white, but the white paint didn't stay very white. Now it'll eventually turn yellow and then brown, and then it'll look like a marshmallow, and then it all just peels off and falls off.
But then it rusts.
Yeah, and it rusts really bad. But if you want to do the best header paint that you can get for like low buck stuff, I go to Walmart and I get the stuff at Walmart and I use grill paint, right? I don't even mess around with header paint. You just use charcoal grill paint from I can't remember who it's from, Rust-Oleum maybe, but it's meant for like 2,500 degrees. It has no problem with your headers.
I've never done that. I just used the VHT stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what the white was. I literally to be honest with you, I have more money in the paint than I do the headers.
Isn't that terrible?
That's bad.
You're a show car guy now, man. You're spending more on the looks.
Well, that's because that damn paint's like freaking $14 a can or something now.
Yeah. Well, and the VHT wasn't. It was like it's like $7 because when I
Oh
had this
no,
car.
that's what this is. That's why I just paid like $14 for it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So Buick Smith, best paint for headers. There you go, man. Go over to Walmart, get yourself some Rust-Oleum grill paint. It's meant for like 2,500 degrees. They got like high heat paint, but then they got grill paint that's like 2,500 degrees.
And I've done the grill paint before. I always put it on a little warm, so I'll heat up the headers, get them just a little warmer than like say 100 degrees, like 150. When that stuff goes on there, it literally just bakes right onto it.
Yep, and that's the whole idea. Okay. All right. So Buick 350 V8 Power says small block Buick rear main rope seal leaking. Is it possible to replace it with two-piece neoprene without removing the engine? I can get the pan off easily from the bottom of the Skyhawk. Yes. If you can get the pan off, Shane and I talked about this before because I had one that did this, where it literally started leaking, but it was a two-piece seal, but something happened to the seal and I had to replace the seal in the car. And I think you can do this. I really think you can. Now, it's hard to get that rear main cap off because it's got the two wooden dowels on the side or whatever they are, pressed board dowel things like an FE does have on the side. And once you get that cap out, you can pull the old rope seal out. It almost pull out in one piece, probably.
Yeah.
The problem
would
be
get a sneaky Pete. That's a little tool.
Well, that's what you were telling me was the sneaky Pete, but I'm thinking so the Buick 350 and the 300 and I don't think the 455 is the same. It may be similar, but it came originally with rope seal and not a neoprene style seal. And I think since it is rigid, it has like a ring in it, like a steel ring.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, and because the seal itself is compressible, it's meant to be compressible so you can move it around, right? I think you can literally, if you can clean that channel out real good, what you'd need is to put some RTV in the channel, and I just put it on one side, get the channel cleaned out real good with like some Q-tips and something else that attach it to the rope seal before you pull it all the way through, and then just pull it around like a shoelace. Just keep cleaning it up with a shoelace or a small piece of rope. And then when you get sick of it and you feel like it's clean enough, just cut it and pull it through. But I think once that's clean really well, put some RTV in there, and I think that RTV is going to lubricate it, and you can almost push that rear seal in with your finger. Yeah. That's what I think is going to be able to happen there.
I did that on Lisa's car on the Beaver. I dropped the pan down, pulled that cap off, and I pulled the one out because it's up inside the block, and I literally pulled it out, pushed the new one in, but I just didn't put any silicone on it. I just lubed it and pushed it in, and it was pretty stiff going in there. And then I put the other one on and just put a little offset dab on it, called it done.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know if you really even need the silicone on it, because I'll tell you why. You got the cap, so you have the other half. So you can literally RTV that one into place, and it can't spin because the one is sealed.
That's right. That's exactly how I did it. And I put it just slightly off skew by about quarter of an inch.
Quarter inch.
Yeah. And then I just put a little dab of silicone on each end, put the other one in there with silicone, bolted it up, put it all back together. I rotated it a couple times, and that car is actually pretty good. Doesn't leak oil anymore.
That's how I would do it right there. That's exactly how I would do it. I would try it because, all right, let's think of it long-term, big picture here. Worst case scenario, you got to pull the motor out to change that rear main seal. If you fail getting the seal in, even if you had bought 20 seals and one of them was a success, you're still so much time ahead that it would be almost worth it just to try it. Like you can't lose. Because you're going to have to pull the motor anyway if you can't successfully do it. But I think you will be able to do it. And I think really what you could do, to be honest with you, is like you could probably pull another main cap or two and let the crank kind of dangle, because every one that you pull, it's going to get further and further away from that seal.
It does help.
And I think you could almost put them back in
Mhm.
because as long as the bearings are okay, why not? You
Yeah.
know, but the weight of
When
the
you're talking
crank
about
itself would
stock
probably,
stuff,
huh?
when it's stock stuff, it's gonna be fine, you know?
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I would literally like if I couldn't get that seal through there, I'd go loosen up the next main cap up and see if it made any difference on that thing dangling, and then see if I can get it in through there again. But okay, uh, yes, dead pedal motors, barbecue grill paint.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. Miss Katji says in a 335 series rear main, the rope seal spike must be removed. What is a 335 series?
I don't know. I was gonna Google it.
385 is a Cleveland, right? No, I'm sorry. 385 is the big block. 335 is the Cleveland. I don't know what a rope seal spike is. It must be something that holds that rope seal in place. And the Buick doesn't have that. It actually just has a rope seal and it's just a rope in there. And there's nothing
Mhm.
holding it in place.
Yeah. I think what she's talking about is maybe those spikes that go on the side.
Uh-huh.
That might be it. You know how on some of those mains where the cap sits inside the block.
Uh-huh.
So if
That's
it's
like yeah, that's how the Buick is, and it's got the wooden dowels on the side.
yeah.
It's like a square wooden dowel that
Mhm.
goes in.
Oh, she's saying on the rear main cap. She got so I guess there's like a spike. So that must be the one that spikes down.
See, Bobby Frizzell says my white was VHT, my black ones are grill paint. Heat cycles will make it live longer. That's what I
Absolutely.
heard is like you heat it up, you just start it up, get it warm, cool it off, warm it up again, cool it off, warm it up again. And you do that like probably a good 3-4 times, and then it's gonna stick around for a while.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put it on start stand and start it up. I can't even get the dipstick in the motor with those stupid headers on there. And so I'm just going to cap it off and fire it up and let her run. I mean, I got 5 quarts of oil in it and it's good on the dipstick now. So I'm just going to cap her off, fire it up, break it in, and then I'll take the headers off. I don't think I'll have to call the dyno because they might have small block Chevy header dyno or
Yeah.
dyno headers.
They're going to come straight out. They're going to be like a sprint car. So they
I
come
could
out
totally
fast.
live with that, but mine are like, I don't want to take my garbage there because you're going to be like, what in the world is this crap? I mean, there's there's holes in them and cracks, and I was painting them like, golly, man, I literally have no standards. But I'm gonna have to do a walk around on them.
Well, Freiberger proved that it doesn't matter how many dents are in the header; it doesn't make any difference.
Correct. It just might just sound like a dump truck, but who knows? It's got open headers. I wanted it to have open headers. I wanted it to sound good, and I know this thing's gonna be snappy. Let's see. Okay. Michael Schmidt says Cerakote. I just saw an 850 Holly painted goldfish, like a 60s hot rod carb. It looks like an excellent finish and is supposed to be impervious to gas. It was the bake-on version, just a tip. Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
That gives me an idea. Stephen Myrick saying that cast iron paint is pretty awesome too. And they're talking about putting it on manifolds, but that cast iron paint would look so good on a set of headers too, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mic is so sensitive. I'm hearing the rain outside. It sounds like a fan running, and I'm hearing the thunder, and I keep looking around like, what's the noise? It's like someone's coming up behind me or something,
Buick 350 V8 Power says, "What's the new Seals brand? The one I bought was looser than a goose, so I stayed with the rope." Um, Honestly, I just let's see, 350 Buick. I think I get 350 Buick from TA Performance. The big block ones I get from BOP Performance in like Minnesota or Michigan or Wisconsin or something.
I
The
get
small
whatever's the
block.
cheapest.
Well, there is another option. I want to say it's like a 460 Ford Seal. I think it's a 460 Ford. And it's a two-piece rear main seal and has the same size main bearing as the Buick 350. So I think you can get a 460 rear main seal and run that.
I get the gasket kit, either Felpro or the Molly, whichever one's the cheapest at when you call up what's that, Rock Auto.
Buick Smith asked, do you think copper coat would work for header paint? No.
Already tried it, doesn't work. Burns off. I thought it'd be cool on my motorcycle, so I tried to copper coat it, thinking it would work. Doesn't.
Buick 350 V8 Power says, with the torque converter connected, I'd leave the torque converter connected. I'd leave all of it connected. And I think what's going to happen, you're only going to need to drop it down a thousandth or two.
Yeah, that's it. And that converter is made for that too, because that converter in that pump just kind of wiggles around. The converter aligns itself onto the crank. So when you drop it down, it just drops down just a tiny bit.
Oh, okay. So 38 Racing is saying some rope seal engines use a spike in the seal channel to keep the rope in place.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that.
Man, me neither. Let's see. Aunt D says, I've never tried to push a rope seal on the Model A's. They're compressed in very tight. That's what Shane was saying. There's a Sneaky Pete tool, which is it's like a handle with a piece of rope on, or it's not even a rope. It's actually like a cable that you loop up around the crankshaft, and you tie it off to your seal when you pull the old one out and you pull it through, and then you put the new one on it and you pull it back in with the Sneaky Pete. The problem with those, I don't know if there's any issue with them at all. I would never try to put a rope seal back in. I learned in my old man used to be a live and die by the Buick rope seals. Okay. Everybody else hated them. Oh, it was like the greatest thing ever when they invented the neoprene seals, but my old man, no way. Right. I'm soaking that rope seal in oil all night. And then he would work it in with a hammer handle all day long till it was perfectly fitting. But in about 1991 or 2, that changed drastically because they took the asbestos out of the rope. And so the seal itself would get hot and gall up and then spin inside the channel. And he would cuss and scream it. I just put a rope seal in that sucker not more than 6 months ago. And when we found out that the asbestos had come out of the seals, it was over for my dad. My poor old dad had no use for his hammer handle anymore. So he ended up going to the neoprene seals like everyone else. And it's been like a lifesaver, honestly. Let's see here. All right. Max Wedge Dick Dashley says, guys, my car is smoking at the finish line. Doesn't have a pile of blow by. Doesn't smoke all the time.
Do you have the evac on it?
I was going to say, do you have a PCV valve?
Yes, I was going to ask if you have evac. If you don't have an evac, do you have a PCV valve?
Yeah, I think that sounds like that may be your problem. Is the excessive? It's really. I don't think it's probably blow by. I bet you if you start it up or if you ran a compression test on all the cylinders, I bet they're probably pretty even. I bet it's just crankcase pressure building up in there.
Yeah, mine used to do this quite a bit when I let off the throttle. So because there was no way for that pressure to go, it just would basically go out. So I on this car here, I went to an evac, and then if you just run it through, like say a catch can. So if you're running a PCV valve, just run it through a catch can before you go to carburetor. If not, run the evac system, just run it through a catch can. It should take care of that.
Let's see here. Okay.
Or run thicker oil,
Well, you can run thicker oils, but technically that won't slow it down because it'll make more power.
Yeah.
So these guys are thinking that the 464 rear seal may be for the Olds 455. Maybe it's 351 Windsor, but one of them has the same size main bearing, which I know Windsor's a 3-inch. Maybe it's a main bearing or maybe it's a oil seal for a 351 Windsor. Okay. Oh, he says that he put a panty vac to the headers and it didn't help. Okay, well then I would have to say it sounds like rings.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say it's rings, 100%.
Yeah, I don't think you have much of a choice, man. I think you know what? I wonder, did you run this thing rich for a long time?
Wash the
And,
cylinders.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and then glaze your cylinder walls up big time. And it sounds like I pull it apart and re-ring it, and that would be probably all I'd do to it. It's just re-ring it, and if the bearings look good, run them again.
Single ball hone it, man.
Yeah.
And like someone at 38 Racing said, it could be valve seals too. I mean, that very well could be it. But you would see
Can be.
that.
No, it'd be an idle too, because
Yeah, it'd
idle
be an
would be
idle.
the highest vacuum situation there is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but if it's when it's the throttle blades are closed, that would be the highest vacuum then technically. So if it's after he goes through the stripe and he lets off the throttle,
Oh, it would go major high vacuum because it'd be high RPM. No, he's right.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
it could be valve seals, I guess.
But
you know what?
he said at the end he didn't say if he was on the throttle or off the throttle.
Right. Well, I guess that's the way. Let's see.
Max wedge. Is it when you're letting off the throttle at high RPM, or is it when you're full throttle going through the lights at the end of the run?
Yeah, I would have to say that it could be valve seals as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Buick Smith says that he did a rope seal in a small block Buick almost 9 years ago, still holding strong. Well, hey man, you're pretty lucky. I don't get lucky like that. I can't even get the neoprene seals to last that kind of time. Let's see. Okay, Rabbit Transit Garage says, so I'm using a Magnum 360 for the Triple Crown in my Duster. Will be basically stock with the exception of air gap intake, most likely 391 gears. I have noticed there aren't many cam options.
Oh, I got it. I actually have a recipe for you. Can you give me your email and I'll send you a recipe. But basically, I used to build these back in the early 90s. Early 90s when I came up with this recipe. And with that setup, even with stock heads, that air gap, and then the cam is just a regrind cam. It's like 236, 240 something on a 108. And, doing no head work to it with that, I think it was 450 horsepower, which is pretty good. And it's almost 470 foot-pounds of torque. And I used to get these things out of the wrecking yard and build them that way. This is before crate engines were like a thing. So, and then if you do some like real little tricks to it, like oiling tricks and a few other things, you could probably gain another 20 out of it easily. So you could be right there as a runner with that setup.
All right, Michael Schmidt, he's asking, can you explain the rich running engine and washed cylinder wall and resolution? Okay, there really isn't much of a resolution. You have to tear it down. You have to knock the glaze off the cylinder wall and then put a new set of rings in. Is really about it. But what happens is if you run it too rich, the fuel and air mixture, the fuel itself will collect on the rings. And then as the piston's going up to compress it, it uses it more or less like a lubrication and like oil almost. And generally what happens is since gasoline does not lubricate as well as motor oil, you'll get this glazing situation where essentially like wet sands the cylinder wall essentially to nothingness with the ring, and you'll come up with like this spotty, patchy looking glazing is really what it is. And you've seen this before because in Top Fuel, if you've ever watched drag racing on TV and Top Fuel, when they rebuild the motors each round, it's because they run so much nitromethane through the thing that it does the same thing. If there's one time that the cylinder doesn't fire, it hydrolocks that cylinder usually and ends up blowing the head off or the blower off. And it ends up washing the cylinder walls down like that, and they end up de-glazing them after each pass. That's where the engine rebuild came from for each pass in the nitromethane engine, was that right there. Also, it would also thin down the oil and smoke the bearings too. They run so much nitromethane and methanol through it. So that's what you're looking at. Same thing happens with gasoline. If you run too rich of a combination for a long period of time, and then what happens is the cylinder wall gets so smooth that the rings can't control the oil any longer. So it essentially just starts sliding right past the rings, like you don't have any.
Hey, Mr. Wilburn, I just sent you an email with 2 links. If you could send those 2 links to Rapid Transit Garage. Yeah, I didn't know you were here. So I just sent it to your email. Send it to him. That way he has them. I sent you Rapid Transit. I sent you both the 450 setup and the 460 setup. Now, those are really, really easy setups, and the cams are really nice, and it's only with the 650 carb. You put a 750 on it, you might gain another 10 horse out of it. Thanks, John.
Okay, so Buick Smith says, looking at getting a rebuilt small block Chevrolet 350 won't spin. They pressed in the wrist pins without heat. If I heat them to get them apart, can I just install new ones, or will the pistons and pistons and rods be shot? Okay. I don't know how they even got them in there.
Yeah.
The pistons, you would have assumed that they would have to be destroyed. The pistons and rods. I would automatically assume it, because the way that works is that rod is heated, and then the piston's not even, or the wrist pin's not even pressed in. It just literally slides in.
Yes.
It's so tight.
And
then when it cools,
yeah,
it takes like 30 seconds for it to cool, and it captures that wrist pin. And I can't see any way that they could do that without galling up the inside of that rod where the wrist pin is at so bad, just by forcing it through. I still don't understand how they would have done that, though, because I would think that the piston itself would take such a beating.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good one, because I've pressed them out before. I've had them to where they were stiff, so like they were almost seized up. And on my press, when I pressed them out, it literally took out some of the piston and the rod when it was pressed out, because it was so locked in there. So you take out some of that aluminum, and it killed it.
I would, if it was me and I was trying to do this and I was trying to do it on the cheap, I would literally try to press the wrist pin out of that rod, and I'd throw the rods away, because they're going to be tweaked in some shape, form, or fashion. If it isn't the big end being bent or not quite square anymore, or the galling on the inside where the wrist pin is at, I would probably throw them away. And you're in luck, because a small block Chevrolet 350, you can buy rods from like Eagle or Scat all day long for less than it would cost to refurbish those rods.
Exactly.
Okay, so if you can save the pistons while you're doing it, yay, great. I'd reuse the piston. I really would. If you can't save it, it's not that big of a deal. It's a 350 Chevy piston. You should be able to pick up some of those for even used ones, probably would be less than $50. That's what I would think. But the way I look at it is small block Chevrolet 350 pistons. You probably can go get individual ones from Napa just to complete your set if you do break one or two. So that's what I would kind of look at.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd try it. And if it didn't work out, you're in it for pistons and rods, and it really won't be that much. It's small block Chevrolet. So, and I'm beginning to like small block Chevrolets. I see why everybody likes them now.
They're pretty easy.
The parts are cheap.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And they got everything available. You can build a whole motor. Never one piece came from General Motors. That's what's ridiculous.
Yeah. But to be fair, a 350 Chevy out of the wrecking yard will not handle as much power abuse as a stock 360 or 340 when you run nitrous. I'm just saying, believe me, I've tried. In stock form, I can really beat the piss out of a small block motor.
Well, you got to admit that 340 was originally made for fighting it out, right? Now you pick a 350 Chevrolet that was meant for that, like let's just say like a LT1 350 Chevrolet was meant for that. It probably would handle quite a bit more than just some truck with 2-barrel. Yeah.
But any 360, 340 or 360, they're basically on par, because I wasn't really going over 6,500 anyways when I was running nitrous. It's just whatever I could find is what I used. I just happened to find more 360s, but you could beat the living tar out of those 360s, and they would just take it.
So Paul P. Hoy says the only reason you can't use the SP rated oil in old engines is it doesn't have anything in it to keep the rope seal from drying out and leaking. That may be the case. That because see, all the rope seal issues started really showing up about the same time as they pulled all the zincs out of the oil. Mm-hmm. So, it may be something to do with the oil as well. I did not know. I didn't even consider that to tell you the truth.
I think, yeah, could be.
Yeah, I think most of the stuff the neoprene seals have been available since like 1994 or 5, and I did a neoprene front and rear seal in my Buick 350 and my 72 Skylark in 1994, and when I sold it in 2018, it still had the same seals in it, and they weren't leaking. So, yeah. Well, Max Wedge says, my car's running better than ever. I hate to take it apart. Don't take it apart. Add some different oil then.
Or just put an accumulator on. Not accumulator, but one of those
vacuum system.
Yeah, just one of those capturing. What are those catch cans? One of those that it sucks it through, so it just catches the oil. So it goes through like steel wool, so that way it doesn't separate and go out. Just put one of those on it.
Oh, SSR Performance has graced us with its presence.
What's going on, man?
Welcome. Mohawk 62 says, back in the day, we would hold the throttle at 3,500 or so and slowly pour Coca-Cola down the carb to deglaze the cylinder walls.
Wow.
I've never heard that one. I've seen water. I've seen transmission fluid, but I've never heard of Coca-Cola.
No, that's a new one. But I would see it would make sense, but we used distilled water, but that was mostly just to
that was a steam clean the carbon off. I don't know. You know what? It might be worthwhile just getting some ragged ass 305 and put it on the start stand and try this out. Bore scope it first and be like, oh man, this cylinder's bad. And let's run some Coca-Cola through it and see what happens.
That'd be good.
It probably would be good.
Mm-hmm. The wife's Slant literally is original, and it's got carbon on it. I've taken some of it off, but I'm scared to put too much water to it. But I'll try the Coca-Cola thing.
Stephen Myrick saying the rods would need reworked. Let's see. He says all the wrist pins are stuck on the rods and they spin in the piston itself. Correct. Yeah. So you would have to get them out. The only way to get them out is technically when you remove them, you just press them out. Right. But normally when you do that, it damages the piston. So, I mean, if you can get them out without damaging the piston, that would be, in your best interest.
Well, the engine that I got for free, that Slant 6 that I rebuilt for Gilbert Slant Sled, those things were frozen. And then I just kept using penetrating oil on them. I used acetone and ATF. And then they freed up really easily. So they were locked. Like you would hold it and it would stay there. And it was actually scuffing the cylinder walls. So once I did that, they freed up. It freed up the rings because they were just running too much fuel to it. And it freed it up, but I didn't have to take the pistons off the rod. So you might want to try that. Acetone and ATF. Let it soak in that.
Well, okay. So there's something going on here that I have to agree with. 38 Racing saying that's the way that those rods are. And that's exactly how they all are when they're captured rods. When you don't have a full floating wrist pin, that's exactly how that works.
And it's probably seemed stiff just because they've been locking up. That steel is getting a little bit of a schmeg between the aluminum. And that's what I was telling him. If you put acetone and ATF on it, it will loosen it up. I had the exact same thing going on.
Big Block 402 says press pins are stuck in the rods, bush pins slide. Exactly. And then Buick Smith, they sound fine, actually.
Yeah.
Only the bush ones slide or will let the wrist slide in there. Right. So it makes me think here, maybe, I got an engine one time. My buddy Brian that lives here in town, he brought me a 71 455 that was supposedly rebuilt that he bought in Kentucky up in near Bowling Green. And he wanted me to go through it and get it started up on the start stand. And so I brought it home and I went to turn that sucker over with the bar and it wouldn't even move, locked up, tighter than a drum. And I'm like, oh, crap. Well, we took it apart, and as I pulled the intake manifold off, about 4 mice scurried out of this thing. They've been living in the lifter valley for like a couple of years. So I ended up knocking all of the lifters out of it, and we ended up calling it the rat piss motor, right? But it was locked up tighter in a drum, and I thought it was from all the rat piss on it. Well, it wasn't. Actually, what ended up happening was the crank was turned 1010, and the machinist was like a tool bag. I don't know, because it was actually turned like 7.7. And what happened when it was that tight, it locked up the motor when they torqued down the main caps. And I had never run into that problem before. And I ended up like, at first I'm like, wow, that's so weird, because it was brand new, fresh crank, and it was stamped 1010. And I got out my mic and I'm like, no, I can never get the same reading twice on this stupid thing, right? So I just plastic gauge it, and when the plastic gauge was like 1.5 inches wide, I knew it was too tight. So when you hold the plastic gauge meter up there and you're like, oh shit, I got to turn a long ways, you know it's too tight. So I'm kind of wondering if it might be something stupid like that, something else that's happened, because on the older motors, the wrist pin is locked into the rod, and the only way to get them on and off, well, off you just press them out, but on they have to be heated to be inserted. They have to. I can't see it any other way. It would split the rod in half.
I just think it's schmeg, dude. I just think it's schmeg that's been sitting. That's why it's tight on the piston.
So Buick Smith is saying, I thought the pin was supposed to be captured on the piston and swivel on the rod. No, I'm used to doing a lot of floating pins. So am I wrong? That's correct. You are wrong. It's supposed to move inside the piston and not the wrist, or not the rod itself.
Yeah, and if it's just tight,
if it's a floating rod, it will fit in there, but it's going to have pins holding it in at the end.
Yeah, and then if it's just tight, just clean it out. ATF and acetone. I literally make a 50-50 mix, squirt it on there, and it will, and just keep working it back and forth, and it will clean out the whole thing. The ATF is high in detergent, and the acetone will get it between the two, or just let it soak in that. Put the pistons upside down and let it soak in that overnight, and it'll be totally fine.
Okay. Michael Schmidt says, rope seal, is it customary to soak them in oil or grease, slather the seal? It used to be, that's the way my old man did them, was soak them in oil overnight. Mm-hmm. And then they would absorb some of the oil, and then, like I said, he would work them in with a hammer handle all the way around the front and rear seal, essentially. It was really just the front was the big pain in the butt of the Buicks. Okay. One on Cat says, I'm pulling my 440 later in the spring. Trans fluid may smoke out the neighborhood just right. Sounds like a video. Oh, there you go. This is what I'm familiar with. Dave Norman, on diesels, we would use Ajax powder to deglaze. Yeah. That's what I thought. All right. My grandfather did this before on a glazed engine that was a fresh motor, and he ended up pouring lava hand soap. You remember that lava hand soap that's got the pumice in it? Mm-hmm. He poured that down the carburetor. Well, the sucker was just holding the choker wide open and just poured in, right? And it knocks the glaze off the cylinders, but God, it's got to be rough on the cylinder walls. Just terribly rough.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, at 38 races, I've heard of borax for deglazing. That stuff would probably work too. I think it would be anything like Comet or Ajax or borax, or let's think of something else that's like the powdered like that. But yeah, anything that would be, I think hard. Let's see. Stephen Myrick says, my 355 pistons and rods were real tight from sitting for years. Something WD-40 freed them right up. Mm-hmm. Oh, some WD-40, yeah. And then he says the ATF acetone is the best, though. Okay. Buick Smith saying, yeah, Dallas, that was my first thought that the crank was ground for race bearings and someone put regular bearings in it, but was not the case. Thanks, guys. I will soak the pistons and see what happens. Oh, so if you got the pistons and rods out,
just put them upside down.
and stick them in your bucket there, but spin that crank over. Make sure it spins freely in the block. That's how I ended up chasing that one. It was actually just one main, and it was when I went to final torque values when it would freaking lock it up. Oh, there you go, Comet. I use Comet on my 750 X836 Honda.
I've heard the Comet before.
Yeah, green smoke.
Oh, read that one from John Wilburn. That's a good one right there.
All right. So John Wilburn says Andy Wood told me that when he worked for a dealership, there was an actual technical service bulletin that said to use Comet abrasive cleaner to seat rings on a new car that was having problems with it. Wow. Yeah. I'd like to try that out too, man. That would be kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be worthwhile just getting like a ragged 305, put it on the start stand, and then try all that stuff out?
Yeah, because here's the thing is that I've heard of it. I've never actually done that. I've done the borax. I've done that, but I've never used the Comet.
I'm just kind of wondering if what would happen? I really want to try it out. I'm not going to do it on my Easy 302, but I'll do it on some ragged shitbox 305 Chevy.
But you would have to be a little professional about it. You would have to do a compression test and a leak down test before.
Well, I think you'd have to glaze the cylinders intentionally.
Well, it's probably going to be shitbox. It's probably going to be glazed to begin with. But just a regular running engine. Just take it, do a compression test, a leak down test, then get it hot, do the borax treatment to it or the Comet, then do it again and see if it actually changed things.
It would have to. But it would totally be worthwhile just trying it out, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what would really work is if you did you bore scope it or pull the head or whatever and verify that it is completely glazed and gacked up, right? You put it all back together and you try all these remedies from the least harsh to the most harsh and see if the compression gets better for each one.
Exactly.
Okay? That's where it would be awesome. And then Blue Grit Garage says, would the powders be rough on the valve guides? No, the powder's pretty big to get inside. The valve guide has a tolerance of 1,000th, or it's not even really that. Well, it's probably not even that tight actually, because the exhaust valve side is going to be looser than the intake side because of the heat that has to deal with, right? So it grows quite a bit. Let's see. Dizzy Izzy saying in the 55 283 engines, the bore was too polished with the rings wouldn't seat. They advised borax to rough the cylinder walls a little. Huh. Yeah, he's right. Danny Boyd's right. And a teardown to inspect. Yep. That would be cool. I definitely, maybe we should do a video on that, Professor P. Just score some junk motor and we'll freaking find out.
Dude, I've got plenty of junk motors. I got one right here that I got from Uncle Tony. Slant 6.
Well, it's not going to be easy to put on the start stand.
I got a start stand.
Oh, you do for Slant 6?
Yeah. Well, it sits on the floor, but yeah, it folds up.
Huh.
You remember that when I had the 204R? That actually has a plate, a mid plate that bolts onto it, and it's got a starter that bolts onto it and a flex plate. So that way you don't have to have a bell housing onto it. And then I have a little pad underneath, and I have little feet that come down, and it bolts up to the ground.
So Buff Del Campo says, when I was young, the old mechanics told me to run bone of meat down the carburetor. Now, this is pretty interesting because, one, you got to remember, Buff is not the youngest guy in the chat here, okay? He's probably the opposite of that. So when he was young, I've never heard of bone of meat, and I'm hoping I'm going to Google it right now, actually.
It actually has got a really cool. It's got some lady running with with the pictures like a person running. It's called I know it's Bonami, but yeah.
Okay. Powder clean. It's about it'd be similar. Let's see. I'll pull it up here. I'll bring the present, share screen, window. Okay. Here you go.
Yeah, that's
it's a chicken.
Yeah,
it's
that's
got a baby chicken.
Yeah, sorry, that's the hand one.
But it to me it looks like Comet or whatever. But it just says powerfully cleans without harsh chemicals, scratch-free powder cleanser, kitchen and family safe. Could it be crankcase safe? Let's find out. It's definitely something worth trying, I think. I really like to try some of these things out. I really would. I wonder if there's a way to intentionally glaze them all, the cylinders, and even if you unglaze them, you can go back in there and glaze them again, real easy.
Just run a bunch of fuel through it.
Well, you could do that, or oil or grease or something. ATF would probably be the best. Let's see. Paul always says maybe we clean the exhaust pipe on the way out too. It could. Let's see. Loutburn says when I was a Pontiac mechanic, everybody was talking about the borax grit to deglaze the bore on the 265 Chevy. So there has to be some kind of truth and validity to this. It's totally worth trying out, I do believe.
Yeah.
Let's see. Clayton's Toolbox says I spoke with Alex at Edelbrock, and he is custom grinding a cam and lifters for my Oldsmobile. Great help, and that No Name Nationals discount really helps.
Bitchin'.
Well, sweet. Do you know that guy, Professor
yeah.
P? Alex? Yeah.
He was handpicked for a reason.
Let's see. Michael Schmidt says, I have a clapped out flathead 6 that is seemingly 100% blow by special. I have a bore scope too. I will investigate. It ran rich with dual carbs and developed blow by such that I stopped driving it. Well, that sounds like the one to try out right there.
Yep.
Because it's a flathead. You can literally pull the head, and most likely you can reuse the gasket that's on it. John Wilburn says that is an ancient brand. So no punches pulled for a Buff, but I do. I'm glad we got folks like Buff in here because Buff keeps us right on track with the legit old school mechanics tricks of the trade.
He was doing what we were doing 20 years before us, right?
Before we were doing it. Yeah, before I was born, probably. See, Loutburns, no, it's okay. Bobby Frizzell says, I did a video on water down the carburetor to clean the carbon out of an engine. Yes, that's such an old school trick, but I don't think people even know about it anymore.
It works. That hill behind a house in Poway, that Scripps Higher Parkway, I would go up that hill and I would have a little valve that went into the PCV valve and it would be right into a gallon. And as I would go up the hill, I would floor the car and I'd open the valve till the car stopped accelerating and I'd watch it drink that gallon going up the hill and it would just burn all that carbon right off.
Mama M3 says, I wonder if Barkeeper's Helper is similar to Bonami. It's scratch free as well. I was thinking actually the same thing. When we were talking about powders, but I couldn't remember if the Barkeeper's Friend was, or is it Barkeeper's Helper? I couldn't remember if it was the cloth that you shine metal with, or if it was the scratch, or if it was the powder, the abrasive powder. There you go. Big Block 402 says Krispy Kreme will glaze one up. I was just thinking Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and I can glaze it up pretty hard. Yeah.
Everybody's gonna have a glazed donut then.
Let's see. Dust Devil Garage says, do we still have access to scratch and dent return Edelbrock items?
Yeah, we sure do. When they come up, I'll let you guys know when they come up, but they come up from time to time. And then we give those first access to our obviously employees. And then after that, then it goes to our people who have like discounts, like people in like businesses. So you guys are technically No Name Nationals as a business now. So yeah, that's one of the perks, but I'll let you know. It takes a little while for that to come through.
So BNR Racing says, I tried the Bonami 55 Chevy 265 trick in the past. It doesn't work. And John says, there are all kinds of abrasive powders. I imagine any will work. You know what? I've heard this so many times. I really want to try it now. I really just want to go out and try it and like really glaze one up. Find out what really works good for glazing one up. Like really easy. Is it like stuck float bowl? Yeah,
just feel that sucker. Make it so that way it's running like 9 something, and it'll flat. It's just
barely running black puffs of smoke every time it fires.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I'm kind of wondering if you could break the glaze with this stuff, because there's got to be some kind of validity to it. Let's see. Professor P, do you know if the DLC coated hydraulic small block Ford lifters became available? I guess I could just call Alex.
Man, I totally forgot to look last week. I've been so busy. I'm sorry. If you send Alex an email, I'll look into it again. I just keep forgetting. I'm just so busy during the day. I apologize.
See, Clayton's Toolbox is saying it would be cool to rebuild an engine, idle it for hours and hours and hours, and then deglaze it with bone meat.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, oh, there you go. Michael Schmidt says, glaze it up, polish it with 3009 grit. I guess I could just do that.
Yeah.
Wet sand the cylinders and put it together.
You know what you should do is, me, you, and Wilburn were talking about wizardry and hocus pocus stuff.
Oh, this is the kind of stuff that you would do at PRI in your booth.
Exactly. But instead of that, why don't we just have a wizard's corner? Like we just you do one, I'll do one, whatever. John will do one, and we'll just do this, snake oil wizardry. Does it actually work? I think that would be that should be the first wizard, like poof potion. Is this snake oil work?
Did you give me all these ideas, man? I'm kind of wondering if I should just buy a whole can of Comet, cut the entire top off, have the motor idling, and just pour the whole thing right down the throat as it's idling, right? The whole can. Oh, deglazed now.
I would
deal with 14 ounces of Comet.
just poof, like like dust
yes.
ball it.
Yes.
I think it would starve it because all that fuel would just lock up that Bon-Ami.
Oh man,
that'd be a good video, man.
It would be. I'm telling you, when that originally came up amongst our group, the wizardry stuff with me and you and John and who else was there was Two Hacks Jeff and Clint from Clint Street Machines when we were at PRI that year.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about getting a booth and just running a wizardry booth and just have everybody in amazement. And then none of it really works. It was all just like a joke.
Yeah.
And then you would have to sign out front that wizard will return at 4:00. Remember that show? And just have him do something amazing, pull a rabbit out of his hat, all the crazy wizardry stuff. I think we do need to write all that down and then just make videos on it and literally make it as commercials in everybody's videos within our group. Just send out the commercials, right?
Yeah.
They're not real commercials. It's just fake wizardry stuff. Okay. Heavens Mopars. My dad says to blow carbon out, get engine up to operating temperature, and then floor it. Watch it come out in the rearview mirror. Easy tune up. Okay.
Yeah. That was called what we called that the Italian tune-up is what it was called before.
BNR Racing says the best thing to try and save an engine burning oil fierce is use GM top engine cleaner. It's been around since 1959. Well, that'd be something cool that would be worth writing down and trying it out in the deglazing video.
Thanks, John. There was an idiot going through.
Oh. I don't know who that is. Okay. Let's see. BNR says everything you read on the ham is often bullshit. I didn't read this one on the ham. I just know that this is, the ideas passed around and passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah. So I actually have a question for everyone. Who's ready to race already? Is
Not
anyone
me.
ready to race?
Let's see. I don't know. I don't have anyone saying yes, but I haven't got down there yet. I got to get past 900 chats about some stupid stuff. Let's see. John Wilburn. I just sent Alex an updated participant list. If you're not registered, you're not on it. Get in on the Edelbrock deal, guys. People have already saved more than their entry fees. That's the whole idea.
Yep. He comes over and tells me who's buying what and how much they've saved, and I think more than half have already bought stuff and saved their entry fee.
Buick Smith says I have a 65 225 odd fire V6 that has not run since 1973. I should try the Comet trick on that one. Well, you might want to make sure she freely moves first, but I guess maybe not. I don't know. All right. Oh, that's where he's saying I got that. Yeah, that person. Okay. Nitroglycerin pills in the gas tank. Yes. And here you go. There's an answer. Induction heater for pin removal. I don't know how you're going to get the induction heater in there, though. Then have the rod resized or bushed. I don't know how you're going to get it in there. Let's see. There you go. Old engines often have stuck piston rings and piston ring grooves. GM top engine cleaner dissolves the gunk. I remember fighting those out of a bunch of pistons where matter of fact, I've taken them apart before. And when you get knocked the piston and rod out of them, the ring doesn't even release. That's how bad some of them get. My next project says I'm so far from ready to race, just pulling the motor now. So,
I was actually just checking out the schedule. Holly Springs has got a radial prep race on the March 1st, and that's going to try to be my first time at the track. So testing, because I got to get suspension, and then I got to change to E85. I'm doing one at a time.
This is funny here. Let's see. 38 Racing says, had a shop teacher tell us to clean sludge, drop the oil, fill with kerosene, run till it knocks, see the crap come out. Yeah, like the bearings.
No, that's actually a thing. When I was working at a wrecking yard in Georgia for a little while when I was going to school there, and we'd get the engines warm, and then we would put diesel oil in them. We would take out like half the oil, we would put diesel oil in them, and then we would start them up and then let them idle. You let them idle for 10 or 15 minutes, and then you would flush it all out, and all that crap would come out, and it would look like it's brand new inside. Literally, that does work. Not all of it, but like that. But
I don't know. Like kerosene and diesel oil or diesel fuel are essentially the same kind of grade oil. It'd be like a 010 oil probably, or less.
Yeah, you just fill it with half. And diesel's a great cleaner.
Well, because diesel has detergents in it.
Yes, exactly, because it's got high detergents in it.
Yeah. So Stephen Myrick saying his short block is done, just needs heads and a cam for his triple crown motor.
Badass.
Blue Grit Garage then says put some bone of me in the crankcase to free up those wrist pins. Let's see. Man, okay. Buff Del Campo says he had pin removal. My very first video shows how to do that by supporting the rod and the press, not the piston.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way you can do it, because it would. Shops have every time I've taken them there, they always destroy the piston, getting them out. And you're like, dude, if you had some kind of fixture you could stick up under there and hold the rod and press that out, it would work a lot better.
Yeah, I actually have a little tool that I made that presses the pin out, that just goes up on, since the Slant 6 is a square on that edge, it just supports that, but doesn't destroy the rod or the piston. And it's just piston support, and it comes right out.
So this one here, the induction heated. The question originally was like, this was proposed to get the rod out of the wrist pin. But when the rod is assembled with the wrist pin in it, in a piston, you cannot get the induction windings around the big end or the small end of the rod, because there's a wrist pin in the way. You might be able to fit it through there and get the rod all the way up to it, but the heat generated by that induction heating and the induction heating portion of it is going to melt the piston. The piston is aluminum, right? So that's the problem with trying to use heat on the piston and the rod. By the time you swell that rod up, the piston is already a molten pile.
John nailed it on the head. He goes, I see a whole lot of rod and main bearing orders coming after all this abrasive wizardry shakes out. That's why we do it on an engine that is crap.
Yeah, 305. 305 fragged motor.
Yes.
Dude, I could totally spend a couple of weeks though, just get some freaking ragged ass motor and then like pour kerosene in it, see it, flush it out, see how well it works. Does it have better oil pressure? Is it cleaner inside with the bore scope? I don't know. Does the lifters unstick? That would be the great one to find out. Then when the cylinders are all glazed up, let's freaking unglaze them with some Bonami, Ajax, Comet, lava soap, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. So, no, he is right though. You got to be careful with that. I mean, if you take the valve cover off and there's crap in the top, like big pieces, it's going to go right to the bottom. But if it's just a little black, you put a little diesel in that and it breaks up all that stuff. It really does. And it makes it look like it's super clean inside.
All right. So the LC2 kid saying, got to be careful with that kerosene flush. If you do it, clean the pan and the pickup afterwards because it is oil. So let it drain for quite some time. And then, I just fixed Jack the Giant Killer, the world's most hairiest 300 Buick that I built, 3-4 years ago now. And it leaked water in the pan. They started it up and it sucked oil up or water up through the motor. And the guy called me freaking out. Oh, you think all the bearings are bad? I'm like, nah, dude, if it was me, I'd pull them and look at them. He's like, it's not in the budget. So what do you recommend doing? And I'm like, well, it was just idling in your driveway, right? And he's like, yeah. And I said we flush it out and then prime it with just buckets of oil until it starts coming out clean. And it's a good thing we did that. We went through 15 quarts of oil until it finally came out where it wasn't milky. The water gets trapped up in the passages. I could see the kerosene doing the same exact thing. Okay. Let's see. Blue Grit Garage says Mohawk Scotty K put out a short about mothballs in the gas tank. Basically, don't do it.
Yeah. It doesn't work. I was told to shot fireballs. It doesn't do it.
Let's see. 38 Racing says, if I have a TTT build, the engine's done. Oh, Triple Crown class. Just don't know what it's going in now. Oh, man. I'm telling you, there's that Vega close to me, 76 Vega. It's already a V8 swap car with a 4-speed. Sounds like what you need. As a matter of fact, I think, didn't 38 Racing, didn't they say he has some Vegas? I think he said on the last live he had Vegas.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah. Uncle Tony did a video where he used a map gas torch to heat up the rod and slide the wrist pin in. I don't think I ever saw him do one where he removed the wrist pin.
Yeah. I've actually done that on my Slant 6s. I heat them up with map gas, get them into about 400 degrees, and then I have a little fixture for the pin. I set all my own pistons in my pins on Slant 6s. I just do it on my own.
Let's see. Dizzy says, when you change your oil, just leave it half quart low and add half quart of diesel. Drive it for a couple of hours.
I wouldn't drive it because it thins it out too much and it picks up
too much. It puts too much load on it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and because there's the wedge is not there anymore, so just let it idle. Drive it, get it hot, drain out a couple quarts, put some diesel in it, and then just let it idle. If you're going to do it.
Let's see. Buick Smith says, I've been using that new Valvoline Renew. 2 oil changes now in my 97 RAV4, burning less oil, and even the varnishes oil, probably the varnish oil on the dipstick is cleaned off. I'm impressed.
Probably got Comet in it.
That's what it is. Bonamy or Comet got bought
It's
out
got
by
Comet.
Valvoline. Yeah. Let's see here.
You know that one thing I used to use a lot in this car when it was still driving on the street was Marvel's Mystery Oil.
Marvel Mystery Oil and Seafoam right here is like the two things that everybody uses, and I think those are. Okay, think about this diesel fuel flush thing you're talking about doing. That's probably was tried in the 1940s when motor oil sucked ass. Right, it was made out of like paraffin oil, pretty much, and that's where Seafoam and Marvel Mystery Oil came from. Was it grew out of the diesel flush? Like, man, there's got to be something better we can put in there. Let's make something, right? And then that's where we're at today. But now we're talking going back to 1940 with the diesel fuel flush. I think, this is where if I was going to try something, Seafoam, Marvel Mystery Oil, I would never. It's something that I was driving or something that I enjoyed driving or something that I liked. I would never do a diesel oil flush on that. Now, 305 I pick up off of Marketplace for $150, $200. That would get a diesel flush. It might even get a gasoline flush.
Yeah.
Let's see. Holy cow. Mohawk 62 says, I've seen a multi-fuel diesel run on 10% fuel and 30% urine. That's it. We've crested the hill.
Right. That's the peak of wizardry right there. Oh, hail Merlin.
Okay. John Wilburn says, PSA 50 hours and 44 minutes until Valentine's Day is over.
Oh, thanks. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. I didn't even know. I totally forgot Valentine's Day was coming up. So thanks for that.
Buff Del Campo says, I used a quart of Marvel and run without a load for about an hour before teardown.
Exactly. That's exactly what I do. Same thing.
All right. Let's see. Big Block 402 says, Marvel Mystery is my favorite. I have a squirt bottle full that I use on everything. I'm that way with WD. I'm with WD. I put it on everything. Right? Really? Oh yeah. I put WD on.
I don't even have WD-40 anymore. I have acetone and ATF and Marvel's Mystery Oil. That's it. That's all that's in here.
I always have a gallon of acetone, and I always have like quite a bit of transmission fluid. If I buy it at Walmart, it comes in a big gallon jug, but I hardly ever mix the two, to be honest with you. I use WD for almost everything.
Imagine it working like it's WD-40 on steroids. Think that. Like it actually makes WD-40 like look like just oil. And it's a penetrating, it penetrates and breaks things loose.
Okay, S2 Kid says, you guys see the new Valvoline Restore Oil, pretty cool results. That's exactly what Buick Smith was just talking about. BNR Racing says there's wintergreen oil in Marvel Mystery Oil. That's why it smells funny.
Oh,
I did not know that.
Neither did I.
And some guy tried to convince me that WD-40 was made of fish oil, and I'm like, nah, I don't think so.
No.
But WD does stand for Water Displacement 40, Formula 40. Right?
Number 40 is the 40th try.
Let's see. Okay. Michael Robert Embry says, Lake Speed Jr., the Motor Oil Geek, has a video on the Valvoline Restore and Protect. State the claim is to remove 100% of deposits when used as directed and prevents new deposits from forming.
Wow. Did you say it worked?
I think this might work on the 305. Might be totally worth testing the 305 theory. I mean, it's just some gas and throwing a $200 motor. And if it lives through the whole abuse, you just put it back on Marketplace for $200.
Right? Rebuilt.
Freshly deglazed cylinder walls.
All the wizardry in the world done on this engine, fully
No,
rebuilt.
it's where you just buy a set of valve covers off of the same marketplace, like postings, and you just stick them on the motor. Fresh rebuilt motor.
Yeah. What color would you like it?
All right. Okay. Let's see. Clayton's Toolbox says, what kind of oil do you guys use in your race cars?
VR1 2050.
Oh, man. Well, I'm like the odd man out here. Rotella T4 1540. But I mean, I really want to get to the point. I used to use, what is it, AMS oil? SAE 40 weight. That's what I put in there before.
Yeah, I've run Rotella T always in this one. I ran the Rotella T in this one for the longest time. The only reason I went to the VR1 is because it has a higher film strength than the T4. That's the only reason why I went to it. It just has a better cushioning than the T4.
Well, and you're running nitrous, so you got
exactly
naturally aspirated motor. You probably don't need that.
Nope, don't need it. That's why I went to the Valvolines, because it just has a better film strength from cushioning the below. When you build an engine that's not for nitrous and you're putting nitrous on it, yeah, that's the whole thing.
Michael Roberts says, hi, do you guys know of any supercharger 671 rebuild shops on the East Coast?
No.
I'm going to look real quick. Didn't there used to be, man, most of them used to be out of California, didn't they?
There was two in Lakeside area. There was one right off the 67 there. That was East County superchargers. You saw it right there on the side by the drive-in.
Uh-huh.
And there was another.
Yeah. Dang. They're on the West Coast. All right.
So I don't know of any out here. Honestly, I'm sorry. There's got to be someone.
There is one in Illinois that I'm aware of. Dyer's Blowers.
Oh, yeah. They're good too, by the way.
And they are in Summit, Illinois. And I mean, I know that's not East Coast, but I mean, that's closer than California. So. And there's one called East Coast Supercharging.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Let's see. I don't know where this one's at.
But I can tell you, like someone said right here, Dyer's has been around forever. I know that name, and they do a lot of supercharger blowers, I believe, for some of the Top Fuel guys or the nostalgia Top Fuel guys too.
I'm just trying to find some good options here besides just one place. Let's see.
I can tell you right now, just go to Dyer's. I totally forgot about them.
Yeah, there's one in Stevensville, Michigan as well, called DMPE, Darren Mayer Performance Engineering, where he specializes in supercharger rebuilds. So that would be, I'm assuming, probably the best bet right there. But all right, hopefully that answers your questions. Sorry it took a little bit too long. Let's see. Being on Racing says that Castrol Classic 2050 high zinc is excellent all dyno oil. That's what they used to sell way back in the day.
That was the best stuff, but then it just when it got bought out, it turned to crap.
Oh, I don't know if did they get bought out?
Yeah, they changed something in the formula because it definitely is not the same Castrol as it used to be back then.
Oh, well, this stuff is supposed to be the same formula as what they previously used, but somewhere in about like 2004 or 5, somewhere around there,
Mhm.
Castrol, you remember Castrol used to have Syntec, where you
Yep.
had it was actually like a synthetic oil mixed with a conventional oil,
Yep. The
and
great
that's
the gold bottle or whatever it was, the gray
right. Well,
gold bottle.
yeah, and then it went away. All
Mhm.
of them went away.
Mhm.
Yeah, and see this long time ago, Castrol GTX 1030 was my favorite. Still had high zinc then. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I ran that all through the 90s when it was still good.
Okay.
Oh, BNR Racing says the EPA is what killed that. Makes
Oh, really? Is
sense.
that what killed that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I've been saying for years, like the EPA is like I translate they're equivalent to like the Gestapo of the Nazi
Yes.
days. They're an unelected entity that literally would tell you what you can and cannot do. And I hated it. And I've always hated them. Um, when you buy a car is when it should be smog checked when it's coming from a major manufacturer, right? That's the only time it should ever be smog checked. Um, Is that like I gotta watch the entire shit show in California unfold. Unfortunately, Professor P had to live it, and I didn't have to really deal with it much.
Yeah.
They used to make it mandatory that we could not see. I'm not from California. My first duty station in the Navy was in California in 1990, early 1995, and they made it mandatory your vehicle had to pass an emissions check to get a base sticker. My shit just remained parked in front of the base on the street, getting broken into every 2 weeks. But you just don't leave anything in there, so it doesn't matter. But I could never get smog checked because I always had older stuff, and I moved from Illinois. Like, if you don't know this, Illinois may still be the same way. I don't know. There was no smog crap outside of Chicago at all, right? Because there's too many farm pieces of equipment that would not pass,
Mhm.
right? Like some old farm stuff, trucks and tractors and all that jazz. And so they don't mess with the rest of the state. But man, I think in Chicago they used to smog them.
Yeah, they used to do my diesel, my truck, and it was a federal truck, and it had no cat, it has nothing. It's a 2004 Dodge diesel. And so they had a white board with a bullseye on it, and they would rev the engine. They had to be so far away from the
Oh,
tailpipe,
I
and they
couldn't
would
smoke.
count the specks
Yeah, I remember
of
that.
soot.
I just remember when the diesel used to be all right. So California, you were winning if you had anything from before like 1966, and then a diesel. And
Mhm.
I remember leaving, like I was going down 805, going to the junkyard off what is that, Nirvana Way, right? And there was a diesel Mercedes. Those were the tickets. That was the ones that everybody wanted. Was the what was it, like an E320 or diesel 320 D320 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But everybody wanted those. They were freaking everywhere, and they got great mileage. And diesel fuel in California was like half as much as gasoline, right? I mean, it was like probably 65 cents when we were paying $1.85 for gasoline in 1994.
Mhm.
And that made that not sound very high, but in 1994, the rest of the country was probably paying 90 cents a gallon,
Yeah.
right?
It's double. Yeah.
Yeah. So the diesel was the ticket. And I
When I bought
remember
my
seeing one
diesel,
going down the road, and I was like, that thing had like a plume of black smoke just pouring out of it. And you're like, that's better for the environment? Like, how is that better?
yeah.
Because them old Mercedes, they didn't have turbos on them, some of them, and they were naturally aspirated diesels.
Yeah, my truck when I bought it, gas was $3 a gallon in California in the mid 2000s. The diesel was still like 79, 80 cents a gallon when I bought that truck. And I was like, "Oh, I'm winning." Within 4 years, it went up through the roof and I was paying same price.
So Mohawk 62, the EPA has ruined a lot of cool things. I'll give you a rundown on like how it worked out for me. In 2000, 11, I came back to the States after 6 years overseas, right? And so my wife and my kids and house and all that, and I had to get some new vehicle. I didn't have one. So I actually had a 2006 GTO that my wife and I bought brand new. And we couldn't put kids in the back, according to her. So I fought it for a little while, and I finally just caved, and I took it down and I bought her, a 4-door Volkswagen Passat with a diesel. And we had that sucker for like, I guess 4 or 5 years. I was pretty impressed with it, and I had already had a diesel. I had a 96 Ford Power Stroke with a 7.3 in it, automatic, and I was really happy with that thing. And then it started throwing all kinds of codes for the transmission. Like, and if John Cope's on here, he's poked me in the eye but back then it was about $6,500 for a rebuild for an E4OD that was behind a 7.3 Power Stroke that would handle any kind of ass, and there was a new converter and everything. Well, so I traded it in when it started having all kinds of problems. I bought a little EcoDiesel Ram, right? I was so happy. I had 2 little diesel vehicles that didn't even use fuel. They ran on happiness, is what I used to say. And then the Volkswagen got caught cheating emissions standards, okay? And people were like raising hell about it. And at this point, I'd already changed duty stations from Jacksonville to San Diego, California for my last tour. And when they got caught for the diesel emission scandal, California would not allow you to renew the license plates on it because it wouldn't pass federal emissions requirement legally. But here's a car that I had paid $35,000 for that I couldn't license. I couldn't trade in. I couldn't give it away. I couldn't do anything with it. Couldn't drive it. And it got to the point where it was like, holy crap. The EPA is the one shoving this up my ass and then breaking it off because I don't have enough money to go buy another car because I can't trade in the one I have. And if I do try to trade it in, it was $3,300 they give you for it. $3,300. Right? Well, it just so happens that my little EcoDiesel Ram will be fine. It gets freaking 32 miles of the gallon. It'll be great. It got caught. Same thing. Because it was made in Europe. And that was who was cheating the emissions was Bosch. Bosch was programming to shut off the emission stuff if it's not being tested. So, I mean, and here's the thing I really don't understand about it. People were mad. It was like, oh, this thing's a polluting turd. It pollutes as much as a Suburban. Well, it gets 54 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
Right? Can it really produce more, carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide than a Suburban getting 4? It can't. It's not even possible.
Doesn't make sense.
And when I realized what the problem was not the EPA. The problem wasn't that they were cheating the standard. The problem was you weren't buying fucking fuel.
That's right.
And they didn't like you not paying tax. So they started sticking it in your ass and breaking it off. Well, I unfortunately had to eat $100,000 worth of it. And I was not a fucking happy camper about it at all. And I really, really realized the EPA is a monster, is really what they are. I can't afford as a regular person to eat that kind of equity. I can't. Right? And they expect you to do it with a smile on your face and just move on. You got fucked. Why is it my problem? I didn't fucking make it. I didn't make it cheat anything. I bought something that you said was good. Right? And it'd be like, yeah, look at that craziness. But that's the thing I never understood about it. When the shit hit the fan, the EPA made it my fucking problem. That should have never happened.
Wasn't that our very first thing together? Is when we went to go get that white truck out of that farm in Ramona?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was your truck to replace your truck, right? That was it?
Yeah. That was to replace the Volkswagen that my wife no longer could drive.
Yes.
And then the truck got wrangled up in it like 2 months later. And then California sent me threatening letters because I had 2 diesel vehicles in California that neither one of them passed emissions standards for federal emissions. And I was no longer allowed to drive them. Luckily, I owned a house in Florida at the time. And so I just caught a fucking plane back to Florida and renewed it in person, renewed the plates in person, and then didn't worry about California.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. We went to go get that white truck off that farm in Ramona.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, that thing ruined my life for like 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
But okay. Let's see. Dust Devil Garage. Some counties in Illinois smog. I live in one, but they only do 96 and newer, basically OBD2. Oh, when I first moved here to Tennessee, they smogged.
Yeah, they used to do inspections here. I was told, but they just stopped doing because nobody would do them anymore in Memphis.
Yeah, that's well. It really what it was like they didn't think it was necessary. There was 9 counties of all in Tennessee that did it, and it was like 5 of them were around Nashville, and 2 of them in Memphis, and 2 in Chattanooga or something.
Yeah, Shelby was one of them, but then people were just driving on drive-out tags. They would just never go get their renewal. They just weren't getting their tags.
BNR says it would be awesome if President Trump defunds the EPA.
Oh,
I would absolutely fucking laugh.
yes.
You know, to tell you the truth, if they did something like that, I would put my hat in the ring to work for the man for free.
Agreed.
And I would work for the EPA. I literally would work for the EPA, and what I would do is I'd figure out real carbon credits. You didn't scrap your Slant 6 1971 Duster? Okay, well, since you kept it for the last 50 years, you now have a carbon credit to you because all these other people bought a car every 4 fucking years. You know, and it like to make that car takes way more energy than it does to keep it on the road.
Exactly. It's called recycling.
Yes, that's where it comes from. And they were talking real tax credits, real freaking carbon credits.
I've told that to so many people. How much does it cost to replace that car that you're sitting there telling me that gets 50 miles to the gallon that's electric and it uses no gas, so it has 0 footprint? That's bullshit. That thing has to get here. How the fuck did it get to that spot right there?
The Mohawk 62 says, I used to have a license to do smog checks for a shop in Atlanta, Georgia. Hey, $20 is $20. Wink, wink. Screw the EPA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Let's see. All right.
Hey, John, instead of the ultimate recyclers, I call it my EV, my eternal vehicle. So my Dodge Dart is my EV, my eternal vehicle. Doesn't have to be replaced. I just fix it.
And Buffdale Campo, I moved away from California in 91 because of all the stupidity. That was the real reason why I retired from the Navy, was that right there. I was stuck in California with 2 cars I couldn't license, I couldn't trade in, I couldn't sell, I couldn't do anything with them. And then I'd have to start all over and buy 2 new vehicles, somehow just magically pulling the money out of my butt. No one was willing to help me out. You know, and this is another one that actually gets under my skin is the chrome. Chromers used to be like Middle Tennessee used to be home for all the major chrome shops, and the EPA is the one that made it impossible for them to do business at a reasonable price.
Yeah,
but you go to Taiwan, they'll chrome everything. The air cleaner lids, valve covers, the whole 9 yards. They've been chroming stuff now for 50 years. But they probably just dump the chromium when it's old right on the ground. And there is no EPA.
In San Diego, you have Tijuana, literally less than
on the other side of the fence. Yeah,
you can see Tijuana from downtown San Diego. There's a hill. You see Tijuana. You just go across the border, eat a taco, they rechrome your shit, and then you come right back across the border. And it's like, what's the difference if it's done here or 1 mile from the same spot?
John Wilburn says, we are the ultimate recyclers. We are. That is true. When you grab a hold of something that is huge, like a car,
yep,
and you just continue to use it and use it and use it because it's a good platform, it's well thought out. I mean, think about this. My 85 Suburban gets 100% better fuel economy than it did when it was new. 100%. Right? It got 7.5 miles a gallon new. And it gets about 15 miles a gallon now. So, and like, it didn't cost anything to renew it. Like, I didn't have to go get a new truck to do that. Buick Smith says, question on gas, the lower the octane, the higher the BTUs at the limit before detonation. Would a lower octane make more power further down the hole as it would burn slower? Higher octane burns slower.
Well, it's less prone to detonation.
Higher octane. Oh, yeah, that's right. It is less prone to detonation.
It's less prone to detonation. So the only way to really make power. So here's the thing: is that if you have an engine that's made for, like, say, 87 octane, and you put 93 in it, you're not going to pick up any power. Really, you're not. It's just by changing the fuel. A lot of people have proven this. You only want to run the fuel of the octane that your engine really needs, because beyond that, you're just wasting your money.
I don't think there's any gain. Not whatsoever. Okay. Danny Boyd says, I kind of enjoyed the challenge of getting my hoopties to pass the sniffer. When I moved here to Tennessee, we used to have smog here, and I'd have to do the same one that they did in California. So I'd show up in my 94 Ford truck, and I remember when I showed up with that quench motor, I had, you guys may have not talked about that much on here, is I built this crazy quench motor in San Diego that was a 393 Windsor. It had 11 and 3/4 to 1 compression, and an AFR 165 heads. And the idea was to make that thing essentially like a gasoline-powered diesel is what it was.
I remember you said those exact words to me when I was standing in your garage and you were telling me about it.
Yeah.
Like 20 years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was 2016. Yeah, that was
10 years ago. 10 years ago. Yeah.
So the funny thing was, when I got it running and on that engine, I took it down to I had to get it smogged, and the guy said, man, you wouldn't believe this thing blew a better number than a 2020 truck. And I'm like, really? He said, this thing kills it. You know, like, what have you done? And I'm like, it had cheapy cats on it, but it was just, you can play with the EFI. It was just a Ford E4, so you could play with the EFI by adjusting the mass air meter. You could play with the fuel pressure on it. You could put timing in it and take it out. It would knock. It didn't care. It would knock and it'd blow a head gasket out if you had it wrong. But that truck would also get 25 miles of the gallon on the interstate, and that was with it had 355 gear and a ZF 5-speed, but it would lumber along at like 1,700 RPM at 70 miles an hour.
Perfect.
Yeah. And it was just like right there at the power band, like peak torque. And the camshaft I used was like essentially a Ford roller cam, but it came out of, that's the one I had custom made. Mm-hmm. That's the one I had made at Schneider. And yeah, oh man, it was great. And you know what happened? I used cheapy lifters on it, and it locked up one of the wheels and ate the cam in half and then wrecked the motor. So let's see. John Wilburn says EPA has killed chrome and paint. No one can afford it anymore. Yes, that's true.
It's true. San Diego used to have hundreds and hundreds of custom painters for cars. Now there's like 5. That's it.
Yeah. 38 Racing asks if those cars could be sold in the states outside of California. Yes, they could. California, they wouldn't allow. You could technically sell it, just you couldn't transfer the title. You couldn't transfer ownership via title. And so, but there's nothing saying that you have to have, when you go to California, when you go to any other state, let's say you move to the next state over, wherever you're at now, you move to the next state over. You do not have to retitle your vehicle in that state. You just need to relicense the vehicle in that state. The title is the title. California wouldn't let you transfer the title.
Yeah, you had to. And then you had to pay the fees of what it was, the taxes on it, all that crap.
Well, here's the shitty one. California has this stupid fucking rule. I mean, it's stupid. It's called in-op, right? Mm-hmm. If your vehicle sits for like a whole year and you didn't put it in op and the license expired and you went in the following year to renew it, say it's like your classic car, they charge you 2 years worth.
Yep.
2 years worth of license. Well, here was the problem. I couldn't re-register it. I couldn't transfer the title. And so when the plates expired, there was a guy I worked with, his was expired. Like he had it going on for 4 years. by the time they released it or let you turn them in or whatever, he couldn't even drive the car legally on the road. And then when he went to re-register it, they were like, "Oh, you got to pay in-op." Like, well, hold on, I couldn't do anything with it. That's your fault. That's your state made that rule. And like, no, you owe $670-something worth of back licensing.
Yeah, to them from 4 years at another state. So you know how I went around that when I was working on this car?
Drive over to
Property in
Arizona.
Arizona.
Yes.
I went right. I literally drove this car the way that I drove this car to the No Name Nationals. That's how I drove this thing through the DMV in Arizona. I drove it up. They did a vehicle inspection, open header. I didn't even have a hood on the car. I drove it just like that. It passed inspection in Arizona. I drove it away. It was beautiful.
Buffalo Campo says Casper Clunkers is when I figured out the government didn't want us to recycle. They wanted us to waste everything we could. Okay. That's exactly how I looked at it too, because I was like, man, I've never thought of this. What happens if you remove a 10-year period of cars completely out of the used car market? Well, now you're seeing it. You remember that bubble 4 years ago when it was like a used car cost almost as much as a new car, and then the new car increased by like 50%?
That's right.
That bubble, that was your cash from clunkers coming home to roost, because they had you by the nuts. They could do that because there wasn't anything you could go buy. And if you think about it, it was all the cars that were available before it. All right. CAN bus is like the biggest shit box thing ever invented in a car. Shit. Garbage, right? Anything past 2010 pretty much has it. There's going to be some that were like earlier, like say 2007 and 8, but you know, they were few and far between. CAN bus is how the whole entire car is set up. No longer do they have wire bundles that run from the front to the back. They literally have small networks throughout the car that are all connected with an individual couple of communication wires. And one of these modules fails. That's where you see when they start putting backup cameras and electric heated nut scratchers and freaking the blinkers on the turn signals that come on when you're passing somebody, all that stuff. That stuff's all CAN bus. And it's all run by computers that all talk to each other with a network. Now, if you've ever worked on networks before, or if you've ever dealt with internet, like at a, you know, in a business,
yeah.
When you lose communication between two different nodes, the whole thing crashes. You can't print. You can't, like, nothing works. It's the same thing that happens on your car with CAN bus when your backup camera stops working or it gets water in it, because let's face it, that shit's going to happen. It dead shorts the node. And when the node crashes, nothing works right. Your electric heated seats stop working. Your blinkers on your turn signals stop working. Your all the stupid things. And then you take it to the dealer, and here's the thing. They can't narrow it down because they don't know what's wrong. And because they're looking at the symptom at the end. You know, the blinker on the turn signal, like on the exterior mirror is not working, right? So they look at that. Oh, there's no reason why it shouldn't be working. What the heck is going on? We got voltage here. We got voltage there. It's got ground. I don't understand. That's because they're troubleshooting it on the old school system, power and ground. It doesn't have a wire bundle anymore. It's just got a stupid node that is connected to everything with a communication signal, right? When you dead short the bus, if you're familiar with networking on a computer, there used to be these drives called SCSI drives, or you had a SCSI termination, or you had a SCSI printer. A SCSI was just a type of drive. It's a type of communications between computer modules. Okay, and the SCSI itself, if you didn't have a terminator on the last thing in the series, it would absolutely go nuts because it didn't know who was number 1, number 2, number 3, and it couldn't communicate effectively amongst all of them. So it would crash. That's the same thing that happens with CAN bus. It's garbage. Once you start losing those pieces of equipment, once they stop working, like your tire pressure monitoring system, once one of those things starts to go down or it's dead shorted, the whole system starts to crash. It doesn't know what to do. CAN bus is garbage. So, yeah, but anything before that, that was all cash for clunkers, and those were good cars, ones that you could drive for 300,000 miles.
Before we end on this, Michael Robert Emery asked me a question a while back. I just couldn't get to it in time. He was asking what was going on with the Volkswagen, my brothers. He's actually going to do some racing. He lives in Dallas Triplex area, Fort Worth, Arlington. I'm going to take him to Yellow Belly, and he's going to make some passes for the first time ever in that bug, Yellow Belly. So it's right down the road from him. So, Michael, that's what's going to happen with that thing.
Buick Smith says I should have taken the drivetrain out of the VW and put it into a 70s bag. You know, honestly, Volkswagen out of that whole thing was the only one that treated me fair. Volkswagen paid me what I paid for the car 4 years previous, and I got to drive it for 4 years. That's exactly how it worked out. Dodge, on the other hand, did me very dirty. And I imagine it was to save their ass. But Big Block 402 says Arkansas does that now, Dallas. You have to turn in your registration if you drop insurance, or it's a $100 fee the next time you register it. Wow. And then Vintage Adventure Drive says Oklahoma doesn't even have inspection. It's nice for us hot rodders. Man, you're lucky.
Same here. Where I'm at, they don't have nothing. My 68 Dart that's on the lift, that's registered, titled, licensed car, and it's never been on the road. It's only been on the road one time since '86.
I'm turning red. Yeah, probably because my blood pressure is going up.
You were not anymore. You're a nice little pink now. You're coming back.
Oh, I'm sure. The sketchies here is like, go Dallas, go. I guess when I get on my tirades, my rants.
Soapbox. You're on the soapbox.
Yeah, they could listen to me bash the government all night. Man, I worked for the government for 23 years, you know, and there was one thing that we used to say in the Navy was like, if you ever hear this phrase, run the other way. I'm from the government and I'm here to help, right? Like, I worked for the government, and you knew that was not going to be the case. There you go. Being on Racing says, CAN bus is laid out different on Class 7 and Class 8 diesels, terminating resistors used. Trick is finding them. So it seems like everything is going to CAN bus now because it's so much cheaper, right? Yeah. But man. Oh, see, here you go. Big Block 402 saying terminating resistors. That's some control net stuff there. I work with PLCs. That's programmable logic controllers, right? So that's where all this stuff is headed, is that kind of networking, and it doesn't work well. It's going to take 20 years to iron that out. Yeah, so this guy knows exactly what it's like to have scuzzies that fail and shit doesn't work. Yes. All right. So Michael Schmidt says, I drove my dad's 2015 GMC, and the big computer screen on the dash started looking like the Twilight Zone intro. That shit was changing the radio channels by itself.
That's awesome. F-bomb reward.
Hey, man, I got $10 for F-bomb reward. So I'll try not to do that every time, but especially for you that listen and don't like that stuff. But I tell you what, man, eating $100,000 worth of cars, tough thing to do.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Missouri dropped safety inspections until 150,000 miles, but you have to get your emissions testing every 2 years.
Oh.
Let's see. All right. So I think that's it. We're going to wind the evening down. I've been literally sitting here for like 5.5 hours. No, I wouldn't say that the people that swear are more intelligent. And I'm telling you, I'm a retired Navy senior chief. That's kind of like in my nature. But I really don't like getting screwed. And especially when people put it on me that, I just tried to do something right. Imagine if you went and bought something like your house, and then they said your house was not legal, and then just literally took it from you and burned it down. That's kind of what you're looking at. And I don't know why there was nobody there to really help with that. I mean, I could have got a lawyer. I got a million class action lawsuit letters, but I never got a lawyer coming to me saying, hey, man, you're got to be one of the few people in the country that's got 2 of these things,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, yeah, we're gonna wind it down for this evening. Don't forget, I want to thank Michael Schmidt threw us $10 for F-bomb reward.
Right.
We also got John Wilburn's gonna be live on Friday. It's his anti-Valentine's Day, his annual anti-Valentine's Day show. And let's see here.
Oak Island. I gotta give an Oak Island update.
I was gonna give an update. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a 3 for, but they almost didn't get it. Almost was a 4 for. They actually went 1, 2, and 3, paused, and then went, could it be? And so I thought we were going to get a 4 for. Other than that, they haven't found shit.
38 Racing asks, tech question, can I run sliders instead of rear shackles on a leaf sprung car?
Yes.
And I'm assuming that's for Triple Crown, huh?
Yes. It's still leaf spring. And the push is in the front, because all that is just a different style of shackle, and the shackle just keeps it aligned. That's all it does.
Huh. Miss Catchy says, love yous. So thanks. Love yous too.
I think we should almost put a fund together at least sometime, maybe, and then that way we can get her to come out for a no-name nationals one year.
And Vintage Adventurer Drive says, dang it, I have a date on Friday. Well, good for you. All right. Well, I guess we're going to get it out of here to end the evening. But thanks for all you stopping by tonight, the super chats, the great conversation, and hopefully the show was good enough without my tirade that you enjoyed it. So, and then switch pitch. So we're out.
All right. See you guys later.